Okay, welcome tonight for our meeting. I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the clerk please take attendance?
There are 6 council members present, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Wendell is absent this evening.
All right, thank you. Amongst that, we have somebody here that has a birthday. Councilmember Rasmussen, congratulations. Action to approve the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Comments from the public on the agenda? Council have any comments, questions? Please call the roll.
Avery.
Aye.
Doran. Aye. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tiltonburn.
Aye.
All right, it's time for our open forum. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the council on an item that is not listed on tonight's agenda? Okay, move on. Approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on any of the items that we have on our consent agenda? Council, have any questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Doran. Aye. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tiltonburn.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Okay, move on to presentations and reports. Report from SDSU Student Association. Claire Kennecke is on her way up.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a busy couple of weeks on campus as the semester comes to its end. Finals begin this Thursday, and they conclude on Wednesday, December 18th. Second semester begins on Monday, January 13th. Students Association is gearing up for a busy legislative session, paying attention to what all may be affecting SDSU. In addition to that, tomorrow and Thursday, Black Hills State is hosting the December Board of Regents meeting. There's multiple things on their agenda that concern SDSU, a couple new programs, one of them being a major in healthcare systems engineering that they're hoping to approve this week. So that's exciting. And then the last thing I have is that in working with the beta app, we've received price points, and they had a meeting this morning to discuss further solutions to the issue and ongoing with the app. With that, I'll stand by for any questions.
Questions for Claire? All right, have a
Thank
great
you.
Christmas vacation. All right, ex officio reports, Utility Board. Bonnie?
Okay, this meeting was yesterday. A lot of regular business activities were done, canceling of outstanding checks, writing off delinquent accounts, going over surplus property, and bids for various upcoming projects. The wastewater department discussed its strategic priorities, which include complying with regulatory requirements, in particular the surface water discharge permits. There was a discussion of local policies, mainly about the sewer moratorium that prohibits connecting to municipal sewers outside the city limits, protecting ratepayers through fair and equitable rates and connection policies. And several areas under this were discussed, such as capital cost of sewer construction not being included in the rates. They're funded either by the developers or through the city through tax increment financing. They also discussed upgrading and replacing infrastructure as needed as being one of their priorities, and implementation of technology, promotion and public relations. They felt that that was good not just for letting the public know about the wastewater department, but also for employee recruitment. The different departments also gave a report. For the water department, the water treatment plant is currently on schedule with substantial completion date of October of 2025. The final completion date will be May of 2026. Phases 3 and 4 of the water main and Phase 3 of the interceptor are completed. There's a Phase 5 water main project that bidding will be opened early in 2025. Also, they've been doing line replacements of water lines that contain lead, and all of those have been done except one. And they're also putting out bids for 6 new wells, 4 of them in the east well field, 2 of them in the north well field, and it includes not just the wells, but also the well houses, electrical supplies, control connections, and the raw water line. There was also some discussion of a Sustainability Council and SDSU extension request for BMU to go in with them on the rain garden initiative through sustainability, and BMU approved that for an amount not to exceed $12,000 for 2025. The telecommunications department, the FCC apparently is taking steps to advance a nationwide transition to what's called Next Generation 911. And there was some discussion of how this may affect SwiftTel and other telecommunications companies throughout the country. And essentially, it was just giving the board a heads up. Electric, there was an update on the possibility of possible power generators. That update was provided. Those are going to be large generators that Brookings will be part of their grid. The administration department mentioned summarized financials and year-to-date actuals were provided for each of the utility, and updates to the email server were discussed. So that's all. Very long meeting,
Thanks, Bonnie.
as Wayne knows.
Report for Brookings Health?
We did not meet in November, so there is no ex officio report at this time.
All right, thank you. Okay, move on to contracts and change orders. Action on a development agreement with Solventum. Paul Brusino, our city manager, will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. In April, City Council approved a memorandum of understanding outlining support for the Solventum expansion and possible financial assistance in the future. The $220 million expansion includes an 8,000-slot warehouse, 16 additional shipping docks, and the creation of 46 jobs. The proposed development agreement that's included in the packet allows for $3.5 million in TIF reimbursement to Solventum. Performance requirements are outlined to meet the 46 jobs in association with the TIF. It also further allows $2.6 million in sales tax revenue and $900,000 in TIF for the city. There are assurances built into the agreement that ensures the city achieves the $3.5 million in revenue. Staff does recommend approval as presented. I believe Jim is here from Solventum as well.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this item?
Yep. Good evening, Jim Burke. I'm the site director for the Solventum plant here in Brookings. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. We've really been a proud part of the community for Brookings for over 50 years now. And really, it's been thanks to the support of the community. Over that time period, we've grown over 300%, expanding and adding product lines and adding to our team in the facility. Today, the Brookings site for Solventum is the largest manufacturing site for the company. We employ nearly 1,200 employees, and we make over 1,700 products at our plant. The company chose to expand in Brookings over a number of other U.S. and international locations, and it's really been because of the strong support of the community here in Brookings. There's been a great availability of skilled labor. We also have ready access to technical resources at the site that can help us in our manufacturing processes. Prior to this expansion, the most recent add-on to at least our manufacturing capacity was in 2015. Where we added 44,000 square feet to our site, and so this is about 5 times that expansion that we had. As Paul mentioned, right, we're investing $220 million. It'll drive about a 4% increase in jobs. $16 million roughly in regional revenue and an estimated $80,000 in annual taxes. And since the expansion began, we've been notified of 2 additional product lines that'll come into our facility that weren't part of the original expansion that we had at the site, or at least weren't originally planned. So I just want to say again, I'm really grateful for the partnership that the city's had with our company, and appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim while he's up there? Councilmember Dern.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here tonight and for speaking about this item. I know that we've had a lot of discussions around this, but I was just wondering if you could overview again the 46 jobs, what that looks like. You don't have to give specific salary ranges, but maybe the category of jobs that are being created.
Sure. So part of the investment we're making, we're putting a production space in the plant, about 70,000 square feet. That area is going to initially have 1 production line in it, and so we've got the production labor for that specific line. We've got some, what I would say is plant maintenance employees that are going to help support the site. There's operators. We're going to a new sterilizer, so we sterilize. We're a healthcare facility. We sterilize our product, and so we will add operators or production folks to staff that machine. And then just by the nature of the investment, we're able to add some additional equipment into our plant that we're able to service that we hadn't before. And so some of those 46 rounds out that the staffing of those production machines. Now, we're also expecting some technical resources to support and some supply chain leadership to support the overall expansion. That's included in the 46.
Thank you.
Councilmember Specker.
So you mentioned 46 jobs that were added, but can you give me the net number again? 'Cause with the layoffs previously?
Sure, and I guess I will say we didn't do any layoffs, right? When we had a product line that left the site partially in late 2023, and then the remainder in early 2024. We were able to absorb all those positions within our current factory that we have now.
In Brookings?
In Brookings, right. We didn't, when those production lines left, I would say again, late last year, early this year, we absorbed all those people within our current site that we had in the Brookings plant. The net number, I don't have that number, Bonnie, right off the top of my head, and I'd certainly send it to you, offline.
But it's less than it's like, if I remember correctly, it was 20 maybe?
So I expect we're going to be net still greater than where we are now. It won't be quite by the net of 46, but the expansion will add 46 employees. We netted out those additional ones, so we didn't lose any jobs that we had for the original set. And we'll accommodate each of the jobs that we have identified as per the agreement that we had.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for Paul.
Okay.
Or Steve, or Ope. The amount of this TIF, is it going to be the largest then that Brookings has currently?
I would say no. For some reason, I think we have one a little bit larger. Jake, do you recall?
I think it depends a little bit more on the detail of what you're asking. So the total of $7 million worth of TIF would not be our largest. If you're talking in terms of the valuation size, that would be one I wouldn't be able to speak to as confidently.
Okay.
Is it the valuation you're asking?
No, the amount that's capped by the state.
You're talking about the valuation. The ending valuation, as I recall, because TIF 1 just came off, is right around 1.8%. We have a total of 10% able to consume in the city of Brookings. But adding this TIF that came online with approval of the TIF plan back in August, it ramped it up to about 1.8% of the total TIN available.
But it will be there for the next 20 years. And so if we have some big projects 18 years from now, we're still locked into that amount being part of that 10%.
You will, but you do also have a number of other TIFs that will be coming off. We're fairly conservative in the way in which we project out our TIFs, so a lot of them pay off fairly early and fairly quickly. I believe the TIF along down to Main Street is one that'll be paying off here before too long. So there'll be some dropping off as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions to Jim? Councilmember Avery.
I just had a comment or two. We were all able to tour the Solventum plant here last year. At the time, the governor was here with the ribbon cutting and that type of thing. And it was really interesting to see that. And it's truly a state-of-the-art manufacturing plant that's really an asset to have in our community. And we thank Jim for being here, and he's been very forthcoming in the questions that we've had as a council and as a city government. So thank you for that, and we look forward to continuing a relationship that's been ongoing for 50 years and been a very important part of the city of Brookings and establishing that manufacturing base that's really led us to the growth and success that we've had as a community. So thank you again.
Appreciate that.
All right. Any other questions for Tim? Councilmember Tilton Burn.
I have a comment, but not necessarily.
Well, we can go into council comments later, just kind of right towards Jim right now. Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public? Questions? All right, we'll move on to council questions and comments. If we got something for Paul or maybe something for Tim or Jim again. Tilton Burn.
So mine is more of a comment. I just wanted to say, first of all, that I am very much in favor of this TIF and moving this TIF and this project forward. I think that the partnership that we'll be able to develop here is really great for the community. That said, I also believe that some of the details sort of specific in the plan and in the agreement before us tonight, I would have preferred to see maybe work out a little bit differently. I also would have preferred to see the timeline work a little bit differently. And so for that reason, I will be voting no tonight, just to illustrate that it maybe wasn't a perfect process, and that some of the details of the agreement perhaps weren't the way I personally would have liked to see them. But again, overall, I do anticipate that this will be successful when we vote tonight. And so I am still in favor of the TIF in general. Just some of the details of the agreement will be the reason I'm voting no tonight.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? I think it's another wonderful example of how we're moving forward in our community. We have good partnerships with manufacturers in here, and 3M has been a good neighbor and a good partner throughout the years. With that being said, please call the roll.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tilton Burn.
No.
Avery.
Aye.
Doran.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we have no first readings. Sorry, take that back. Yeah, we have no first readings this evening. We do have a public hearing and action on a special event, temporary alcohol beverage application, and I'll let Bonnie go from there.
Mayor and council members, St. Thomas More Catholic School has submitted a special event, temporary alcoholic beverage application. This is for their annual winter gala and grand auction. This event will be held on February 1st, 2025 at the school's location on 8th Street South. This is the 5th year that this event has been ongoing. A representative from the event is here. If you have any questions for them, staff recommends approval.
Okay, thanks, Bonnie. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I open the public hearing on this item. Is there any public comment? All right, public clearing closed. Does council have any questions, comments on this item? Please call the roll.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tilton Burn.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Doran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye. All right, public hearing and action on Resolution 24-112, a resolution authorizing the naming of a street within Pioneer Park. Josh Bauman, our Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Assistant Director, will present this item.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Josh Bowman, Assistant Director with Parks, Recreation, and Forestry. At our November 4th Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting, Thomas Reynolds, an SDSU student, and Jay Mollick, an SDSU faculty member, brought forth a request to name the road within Pioneer Park. The road within Pioneer Park would be named MLK Way. The cost for signage at each end of the road would total $600, and costs would be covered through the Parks General Supplies Fund. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board made a motion for a due pass recommendation for the naming rights to be determined by City Council. And the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board voted 4-1 in support of the naming of the road on the condition the naming rights followed all rules and laws put in place by the City of Brookings. The Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department supports this request.
Thanks, Josh. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Been moved and second. Open the public hearing on this item. Is there any public comment? Please state your name and address.
Hello, I am Thomas Reynolds. I live at 302 Cedar Avenue. I am the one who put this before the other council first. And I would like to read the letter that I sent the mayor in 2022. Dear Mayor Niemeyer, this past March, I had the opportunity to visit Memphis, Tennessee, and the Lorraine Motel. The Lorraine is now a museum that tells the story of the civil rights movement in America, and specifically the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The website infographic keeps track of the number of streets that have been named to honor Martin Luther King Jr., and if the website which is correct, South Dakota is one of only a handful of states that does not have a street or building named after the fallen civil rights leader in any of its cities. Sioux Falls recently dedicated a statue in his memory, but no community in South Dakota has taken the step that so many have taken. And I propose that Brookings needs to be the community in South Dakota that does the right thing and names a street for Martin Luther King Jr. Surely, if we can honor Harvey Dunn, the Jackrabbit, the Pride of the Dakotas, the marching band, which I am a member of, and even the Children's Museum mascot with a road, we can surely honor this great leader as well.
I remember that letter, Thomas, and I sat down with you and we talked about that. I told you to keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening. My name is Jay Moloch. I'm a resident of Brookings, and I want to talk about one thing this young man said. He had just mentioned Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King. Well, Martin Luther King is the father, so that street name would need to say Martin Luther King Jr. No disrespect, but just that little piece left out. The other reason I want to talk about it is what I have before me here is the Green Book. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever heard of this, but this was how African Americans or black people traveled way back in the day. It was the place that said this area was safe to go to or don't go to this. Well, this book was distributed in 1936, and there is an address in here from Brookings, South Dakota. And so I say this to say, when I first was coming here, they said, don't come. You won't like it. You're going to be the only one. Don't do it. And since I've been here, it has been everything but that. And I say all this to say, now when I share with someone else, you have yet another reason to come here, because now there is someone that is representative of us, the moral leader of the United States, and that it is a community that is all about encompassing what it means of inclusiveness. So I support Mr. Reynolds 100%, and I thought it was equally important to share the Green Book and what this book meant specifically to African Americans.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Any other public comments, questions?
Hello, my name is Edward Patterson, and I'm a full-time student at SDSU, a musical education major, and former United States cryptologic technician interpretive. For me, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is an amazing civil rights activist. Essentially, he spoke truth and just asked that human beings can get along. And that truth got him killed, okay? So it's not easy to do, and I understand this. It's not easy to implore that other human beings get along with other human beings, because as record shows, that will only lead to an assassination. And in fact, me being public currently and backing this proposal, puts me in harm's way, right? So I'm a person of valor, and I implore you to also, be honorable. And unfortunately, I cannot be the demographic that shows what Brookings can do, okay? And so I implore the city to show the growth, the steps into the future that this city has done. It has been welcoming for me in my education. I've been able to meet Dr. Reynolds' son. He's my classmate as well. He's been one of the day one supporters of myself continuing my education. So, I can only speak very highly of the individuals I meet here in Brookings. And so I personally do back this initiative, and I hope to see more, because it's not easy. Dietrich Bonhoeffer is also a reverend who stood up to Hitler, and even with the Christian conviction he had, unfortunately he became a martyr. I understand it's difficult, but profiles of courage is not easy. So I just want to state that I am here to be brave, and I encourage you guys to be brave as well, just as Thomas Reynolds was brave. So thank you all very much for hearing me, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other comments from the public?
Good evening. My name is Diane Nagy. I'm a resident of Brookings, and I also currently serve as the chair of the Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission for years has been using yard signs as a way to help brand Brookings as a welcoming and inclusive community. While effective, that approach is limited to the individual level. You now have before you an opportunity to reinforce Brookings' reputation as the state's leader in inclusivity at the level of the city in a very public, cost-effective, and enduring way. I and the Human Rights Commission encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
I would like to point out there was a specific reason why I chose Pioneer Park as the place to put this forward. We are a nation of pioneers. We have created many great things. We have done many great things. We have put forward new ideas, and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was, if not the most important, one of the greatest pioneers in not only civil rights but also human rights in not just the country but the world. And I think that this is one of the perfect ways to honor him and his memory and everything he stood for, and that we can see his dream living around us in such a diverse community that is so welcoming to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, close the public hearing. Comments, questions from council? Councilmember Tilton Burn.
First of all, I want to thank everyone who spoke tonight and Thomas for bringing this forward. It's perhaps a little embarrassing that this community has not done something like this already. I think if any community in this state would take a step like this, it would certainly be Brookings. There are lots of things that we as the council vote on every single time that we sit up here, and while it is always an honor to serve as a council member and to vote on all of these issues, there are certainly times when we get a little bit more excited to vote on certain things, and this is one that I am certainly excited to support tonight. So thank you so much.
Councilmember Duran.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the statements said tonight. We do have a tradition of naming streets after historical figures such as Harvey Dunn and Maderi. And so I am glad that we are expanding this precedent tonight. I did just a tiny bit of research, and when you look at cultural geography and renaming streets, you want to look at the size, location, and situation. Those are the primary factors that you look at. And so when looking at what street was chosen in alignment with our downtown master plan, bringing more people and revitalizing that area nearby, and Pioneer Park itself being a space that holds such large, important community events, I was really excited that this street was chosen. And I'm so thrilled to be able to vote on this to commemorate the work done by such a prominent historical figure such as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who advocated for social, racial, and economic equality. And I really do appreciate your efforts of continuing this for years to bring this to our community and to really see the impact that one individual can have by also continuing the Dr. King's legacy. So thank you.
Councilmember Tilton Burn.
I perhaps want to just have a question for clarification. Do we need to make any amendment to the motion in order to add the junior to the name of the street?
As long as that change is acceptable to the moving party and the second, then and you're directing the clerk to modify the resolution to say MLK Junior Way, then that would be all right.
As the individual that made the motion, I would support us adding junior to that language.
Okay, any other comments from council? There is one issue in our notes. It has something, it says December 17th. I'm going to let Steve clarify that.
Yes, there was public notice for action tonight, so there might be a contrary statement in the packet, but we're taking action on the resolution tonight.
Okay.
And we can do that.
All right. Any other comments, questions from council? Thank you, Thomas, for being, council member Specker.
So what you just mentioned was by adding the junior, that causes the public notice issue?
No, the packet, I think, had an explanation with a subsequent date of next Tuesday. But what I'm suggesting is that we can make the change and take action tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before I call roll, thank you, Thomas, for being perseverant on this. It's a long time coming. I know you and I had this discussion, and we were already brainstorming where we could do this in our city to begin with, and you're right, Pioneer Park is probably the place to do it. With that being said, please call the roll.
Specker.
Aye.
Tilton Burn.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Doran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, item action on annual on-sale convention liquor license renewal for Park Hospitality La Cantina Restaurant. Bonnie Foster will present this item.
Mayor and council members, action to approve the on-sale convention liquor license renewal for Park Hospitality failed at the November 26th council meeting. Tonight on the agenda is the option for the council to choose to reconsider that action. Little past history here. The South Dakota Department of Revenue has discussed this alcohol license renewal. They recently became aware that they did not receive the compliance check violation reports for 2022. So therefore, regardless of how the council decides to vote tonight, whether it's to deny or to renew, the State Department of Revenue will only be considering the 2023 and 2024 violations. So that means they will only be considered with 2 violations in a 24-month period instead of 3. However, as City Council and the fact that the city does have the records and the proof that the reports were sent to the Department of Revenue, you as the City Council can still consider it as 3 violations within that 24-month time frame. So the decision is up to the council, Mayor. I give it back to you.
All right. Entertain a motion to reconsider this item.
So moved. Second.
And there is no discussion. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Tilton Burn.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Doran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Okay, the motion to approve to be reconsidered from the 11/26/2024 City Council meeting is as follows. A motion was made by Councilmember Tilton Burns, seconded by Councilmember Duran, that the annual on-sale convention liquor license renewal for Park Hospitality La Cantina Restaurant, which failed an alcoholic beverage compliance check within the last 12 months, be approved. I open up public comments at this time.
Hello, my name is Lance Park. Thank you, council members, for giving me this opportunity to address you tonight. I did share in my email that I was out of town with family on the last meeting. I understand that Ray did appear in front of the council, and he may not have sufficiently answered your questions and concerns. I know he was very nervous speaking to the council for the very first time. I'm sorry for the issues that La Cantina has caused the city. It was not our intentions to sell to underage patrons. I would like to share some of the changes that we're putting in place at La Cantina that I feel will help raise concerns that you raised. We are dropping the half-price margarita specials on Thursday and replacing it with a food item instead. It's our hope that we'll still bring customers in, but the feature will be a food item rather than a drink special. On our busiest evenings, Wednesday through Saturday, we will have 2 hostess at the door, 1 carding and 1 seating customers as they enter. Those ID'd at the door will be hand stamped to facilitate the ease of servers knowing who has met the age requirements. Sunday through Thursday, the less busy nights, the customers ordering alcoholic beverages will be scanned at the table. We have increased our scanners from 2 to 4, and with the 2 additional on their way, which will bring us up to 6 scanners. So each team member will have a scanner with them. In the bar area, signs will be posted stating that you must be 21 to enter. All customers will be carded, and those 21 and over will be given an armband or a hand stamp. As part of our policy, all wait staff has gone through alcohol training. We have staff meetings before each opening in which we remind our team members to be vigilant for underage drinking, stress that the consequences of serving an underage drinker is a loss of their job. We also have managers on the floor overseeing team members, and managers also will lose their job if a member serves to an underage drinker. If you don't mind, I'd like to go on a little bit of my history. I came to Brookings in 1973 with $5 in my pocket and a $100 car payment. I got a job at Country Kitchen on their opening weekend. Through hard work and perseverance, I bought the Brookings Inn in 1998, about 26 years ago. I've remodeled the hotel several times and have added a successful restaurant and bar. I also participated in the opening of the Swiftel Center, and I ran the food service and the alcohol concessions for some time. 10 years ago, I invested $5 million in the hotel. I remodeled it and built one of the largest water parks in eastern South Dakota. In 2020, COVID hit, and it killed the hospitality industry, and I was forced to close the restaurant. Ray came to me with an offer to reopen the restaurant and bar and operate it for me. La Cantina has been in Brookings now for 5 years, and they've been very successful with high reviews from their patrons. Customers enjoy the food and the atmosphere, and I feel that it's important to know the local community appreciates Brookings having multiple dining options which people can choose. I do feel it's important to ask the council if your concerns are with me, the license holder, or with Ray, for whom I have an operating agreement. I've been a business owner in Brookings for 52 years. I know as a community, we all share the goal of growing Brookings and increasing the number of individuals that visit our city. The Brookings Inn is vital to having enough hotel rooms to be able to host major events. And it's one of the only event centers in town that can accommodate large group events. Again, my most sincere apologies for failures that have been made, and I hope you can see that we are making changes to eliminate any failures in the future. In closing, I hope you'll reconsider your previous decision and let us keep our convention liquor license. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the council, and I'll be here for any questions.
Thank you, Lance. Any other public comments on this item? Close the public hearing. Council have questions, comments? Councilmember Tilton Burn.
First, I would just like to thank you, Lance, for appearing tonight and sharing some of the updates that you're making to the process. I think that answers a lot of the questions that we had last time, and the way you presented the information tonight certainly gives us, I think, a clearer picture than we received last time, so thank you for that. I do have a question, and it's perhaps on the way the license works within the establishment. Is the license strictly used within the restaurant, or is it the entire convention center that operates under that license?
It's the entire convention center.
Okay, thank you. I asked that question because certainly as a convention center within our community, I think we as a council would want your facility to have an alcohol license because I think any type of event you would likely have in there would have the intention, most of them anyway, would have the intention of serving alcohol, and certainly as a convention center, that's something I think we would want to be able to offer. So I think our hope is that we would be able to permit an alcohol permit for this location. And for me, based on what we heard tonight, I feel more comfortable and more confident allowing the alcohol permit to move forward than I did at the last meeting. You did ask a question as to whether our issue was with you or your counterpart who was here earlier. I think it's important just to clarify that I don't think the issue is with either of you. The issue is with serving alcohol to underage individuals, and that's really what we as a council are hoping to avoid. And so I would just caution, that any further violations in the future would certainly be cause for us as a council to, again, take a really hard look at the permit that we'd be issuing to you and really considering whether or not that's something we'd continue to do going forward. But based on the information that you presented tonight, I feel more comfortable moving forward with the permit.
Thank you.
Councilmember Specker.
Yeah, I'd like to emphasize what Holly said. I agree with a lot of that. To me, it was neither one of you, but there were 3 underage violations within a 2-year period, which I think should be a concern to the community. And I am glad to see that you've increased the number of scanners. The one question I have that I just think it might be something to reconsider is with the firing of the floor managers. Is that really a good idea? When something like that happens, it seems like it's a good learning experience. And it might not necessarily be, in my mind, the best thing to do, because then you have someone else coming in kind of sitting there waiting to get fired or whatever. I also think, this is the third time or the third time we've heard this. The last one, and then there was one 2 weeks prior to that where this was originally posted that no one showed up to give the reasoning or the changes that had taken place. And I just want to emphasize that I think that's also important when you're talking about 3 violations in 2 years, when the city has been given sort of the mandate to do something about it. It's important to show up and tell the council what it is that has been done. But I also support La Cantina. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will be unhappy about the half-price margaritas going away, but the food part is nice. But I just wanted to thank you for coming tonight, and I don't think it's anything against the current manager at all. I think he did a pretty good job. I think we were just asking him a lot of hard questions that did get him quite nervous, and so thank you for coming tonight.
Councilmember Duran?
Thank you, Mayor. I will just also reiterate what some of my fellow council members have said. I appreciate you coming here and revisiting this item with us because I think we share the concern that underage consumption by the city and community members alike. And so by listing these details, I think we're recognizing the gravity of the situation. And I believe that we also understand and recognize the fiscal impact a liquor license does have on a business because that business does support livelihood of community members, and it also impacts your personal investment, just like you said. And so this wasn't a light decision that we made. I just have one question. All of the changes that you listed does ease my hesitancy that I originally held at the previous meeting. Could you let me know, are these changes that are going to be implemented, or have you already implemented these?
We're in the process of implementing. So if the license is approved, all these will be in place by January 1st.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Avery?
Well, I just want to say that none of us came last week expecting to deny that license, and we were just looking for a little bit more. And you've provided that tonight, and you've reassured us that things are, taking it seriously, things are going to happen, and we appreciate it. So that was the last thing we wanted to do, is to close a business down or infringe on a business's ability to make a profit. So thank you.
Andrew, you have any comments, questions? All right. I guess the only comment I've got, or maybe it's a question to you. I know fake IDs are becoming really prevalent. It's pretty easy to get one. The scanners that you have, how long are they going to be good before they make a better mousetrap to try and get past the scanners?
I really think with technology coming on board, I think it's actually going to be an app on our phones that I think the scanners are probably going to be good for maybe 2 years, and then it's going to switch over to an Apple app, which will be updated through Apple. So I really see that, your phone's taking over everything.
Right.
And I can see an app being put up out there for restaurants, specifically with bars, to make it easier for everybody to scan. So it is a problem, and they keep getting better and better all the time. But our goal is to scan the ID. It's hard for us to find out whether they're forgeries or not. The problem is it's not scanning. So we have to scan our customers.
Right. And so if you do have, say, a fake ID that gets through that scanner, I guess my question to Steve is, how does that present to the restaurant then?
Well, that would not be a violation.
Correct.
So if you've adequately ID'd and still doesn't disclose, that's all you can do as an owner.
And the scanners, I think, are updated periodically.
So they get, okay, so the software
Right.
updates them on a regular basis?
When we got the scanners, we downloaded the current software.
Okay.
And I'm assuming they'll update it.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Avery?
Aye.
Doran?
Aye.
Niemeyer?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Specker?
Aye.
Tilton Burn?
Aye.
Okay, that concludes the business for this evening. Thank you, Lance. Concludes the business for this evening. Looking for the council to come up with any items or for future agenda or questions. Okay, we have a pretty good sized meeting next week on the 17th. We do go into executive session at 5 o'clock, and then we have a 5:30 study session. Solventum will be here with a report. We'll get a report from Park and Rec on the Emerald Ash Borer progress and the Fishback Soccer Park Playground. A few temporaries and consent agenda. You'll have to listen to the mayor talk about the state of the city. And then change orders. We've got city attorney, or change orders and contracts. City attorney contract for 25, golf cart lease, bid award for 12th Street South traffic signal and sidewalk ramp, rezoning of Bose Addition. Where is Bose Addition? Geographically, Jake, where's that at?
It's right by their facility.
It is, okay. All right, so that's coming up. Intent to lease Madison Aircraft LLC and Dakota Jet. Comprehensive plan, future land use map amendment. We have a preliminary plat that's being presented, and then transferring of some contingency funds. City progress report from the assistant city manager, and then we go into executive session again to talk about the city manager contract, and we will be coming out and have an action after that executive session. That being said, is there any other comments, questions from council? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.